Good evening and welcome to Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Entertainment in Canada around the world. My name is Tahir Qureshi. I'm your host. I'm a fellow of Real Estate Bureau of Canada, a broker of record for City Pro Realty in brokerage. Tonight we picked up the topic: who pays the real estate commission? This is very common debate that is happening between a consumer and realtors. As you may know already, there was a settlement agreement with the National Association of Realtors in the United States. They're paying $418 million commission in 4 years back. There were lawsuit because their MLS system mandated to pay a certain amount of commission. And now the practices will be changing. They will no longer will be offering the buyer brokerage commission on MLS. However, the practice to offer commission may continue. There is a we have to look at the logic behind who pays the commission. In Canada, particularly because my jurisdiction is Ontario, and Realty Council of Ontario, since TRESA came in effect, issued a guidelines, RICO guidelines, information guidelines, where it explained the relationship that you engage a real estate brokerage to perform services. And on page 7 of the Real Estate Council guide, RICO guide, information guide, it talks about the payment amount and terms. The regulator, the government, or real estate association does not determine or dictate the commission. In simple terms, it is agreement is between the buyer and seller and the brokerage. What type of services you want from them, and in return, you are willing to pay compensation. Compensation could be anything: a fixed price amount, or a percentage of the sale price, or combination of both. This is an agreement between the consumer and the brokerage. And also it depends what type of services are you requiring. Also, you have a designated representative, or in case of multiple representation, which is discouraged by TRESA, but with the consent of both parties, buyer and seller, if multiple representation does happen, it happens to be the same agent or the same brokerage, what happened to the commission? Those are now requires in our agreement, BRA, or buyer representation agreement, or seller representation agreement, or designated seller representation agreement, or designated buyer representation agreement. You specified those. You know, you are very often see the listing where no compensation is made by the listing brokerage to the buyer brokerage. Who's going to pay the buyer broker? And this is very, very critical. When you are entering into an agreement, listing agreement, you specify on your listing agreement what will happen to the commission if you have a buyer broker who will cooperate that. Is seller willing to pay the commission to the buying broker? This is being practiced right now. Why they do that? The seller, just common sense. Because when buyer is buying a property, they are putting land transfer tax, and some places you have in Toronto, we have a double land transfer tax. So the seller normally pays for the cooperation of the buyer broker, and buyer has to pay a lot of money toward closing the deal, because land transfer fee is probably this biggest transaction cost to the buyer. So he's kind of balanced that out. But there is no law requirement. The seller decides whether he or she wants to give commission or not, and you put it on MLS. Only thing is paying to the listing broker, and you have seen that 1 cent from the seller. Or sometimes the seller say, well, I will go up, pay the cooperative broker 1%, for example, of the sale price. Then you look at the buyer agreement. The buyer's agreement says, most cases, that I will collect commission from the listing brokerage if they offer. If they offer amount exactly what is agreed in a BRA, then I will not charge any money to the buyer. If the, the listing brokerage or the seller will pay smaller portion, lower than what is been offered in the BRA, that means, let's say you have a 2.5% agreed, buyer has agreed with their agent, and the seller agent through MLS is offering 1%. So there is a shortfall of 1.5%. So the BRA must state that if there is a lower compensation coming from seller or the listing brokerage, the difference will be paid by the buyer. So you have one scenario is equal to the agreement that you agreed if the seller or the seller listing agent will brokerage will give you the full same amount, or lesser amount, you collect the difference from the you're on Realty Coffee Talk. May I help you?
Hi, I had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so if the seller agent and the buyer agent are the same, will the agent get double commission?
When it's called multiple representation, right now the Real Estate Council of Ontario discouraging the multiple representation unless the buyer and seller agrees with it.
Okay,
So
okay.
the both parties have to give permission in order to allow multiple representation. Otherwise, they cannot do a multiple representation. So that's number
Mm-hmm.
one. So multiple representation is where the buyer and seller are represented by the same person or the
Yeah.
same brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in the agreement, sometimes listing agent brokerage will give you a discount to the seller
Yes.
if it's the
Okay.
same person. But if you have agreed to it and both party agree to it, then full commission will go to that brokerage, not to that person, to the brokerage, and obviously from brokerage to that agent.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That
So,
was helpful. Also, I had another question.
sure, go ahead.
Um, what is the commission rate per sale?
There is no specific requirement or regulation or authority that talk about commission. Commission is what you decide to require these services from the brokerage, and you negotiate with each other.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing.
You have to tell them certain services that you need. Based on that, you say, I'm going to charge you that much commission. Remember that the real estate brokerage are mostly self-employees. They don't get paid until the transaction is completed. So and this is only their source of getting paid. So they
Yeah.
amount, you have three scenario. I was just explaining that you have three scenario. Number one, you can agree to a fixed price if you are a seller. You are agree to pay a percentage of the sale price, or you can have a combination of both. Are you a
Mm.
seller or are you a buyer? Okay. So anyway, so she wanted to know about the commission multiple representation. As you can see, the RICO discourages multiple representation because it creates more confidence with people, and you can refer to other brokerage, or you have a designated program where we have a designated program. We try to give uh, another person to a buyer. Let's say I'm a listing broker, I will designate another buyer representative or buyer designated representative from my brokerage to represent the buyer independent from me. Therefore, he or she will get full independent opinion from us because mostly my clients are designated me to represent them as a buyer or the seller. This is very, very important. And this is why we have talked about this particular issue. Who pays the commission? I'll give you an example. You go to the lawyer, you pay for their services, and they will take retainership from you. You go to the appraisal, and you before they go to the site, you have to pay in advance for the appraisal. Similarly, home inspection, you pay for it before you get it, and some and once they're performing their services. For us, when we are representing and we perform the service, sometimes property closes in 2 months, sometimes property closes in 6 months, and we don't get paid. We still have all the expenses. But this issue is not about us. It's about negotiating and agreeing to the type of service that you need from them. And now the RICO guideline, I request all of you to go to rico.on.ca and download RICO guideline because that explains so many things. Normally, we never have talked about it. It talks about many, many things. If you are a buyer or a seller, what happened in the past, and I think we still do, my brokerage, we have never charged double commission to anyone. We always charge one commission in a multiple representation in the past. And I think we are a small brokerage. If ever happen, we have a consent from the buyer and seller. If we do it, we always send it to their lawyer to give them a total independent opinion. Because when you have a multiple representation, you cannot disclose the motivation, what seller is willing to accept regardless of the offer that is made, or what buyer is willing to pay regardless of what has been offered or what is the asking prices. So there is a motivation. So it's always iffy questions, and it depends on the trust that you have with your person working with you, and you build them confident, trustworthy, and professional. That's why RICO, uh, their focus is consumer protection, and they talk about make sure your act will not infringe the TRESA. You need to build confidence, trustworthy. You must be competent. You cannot just have someone perform a service who has not experience in the cottage industry or commercial. Your focus has always been residential, but you're doing commercial. You have no experience. So this is why the broker record has a bigger responsibility as a complying officer under TRESA to, to make sure the client's interest is protected. So they will always have a training, many one-to-one discussion and consultation, open dialogue to make sure and encourage your colleagues to use expertise within your brokerage if you don't have an experience in cottage or commercial deal, Don't do it because you're going to make a mistake and it will come back to haunt you. So it's better to network, and this will make a referral within your brokerage. And this is very important. We're going to take a short break and then we come back and we continue our conversation. Who pay real estate commission?
Q Wireless and Computer अपने तमाम डिवाइसेस, फोन्स, आईपैड्स, टैबलेट्स, मैकबुक्स और लैपटॉप्स के रिपेयर्स और मरम्मत के लिए हमसे आज ही राब्ता कीजिए। हम क्वालिटी एक्सपर्टीज के साथ साथ आपको फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट डायग्नोसिस भी देंगे और डेटा सिक्योरिटी की गारंटी भी। अपने मुफ्त कोड के लिए हमें आज ही कॉल करें 647-350-6606।
Popeyes has opened a brand new location in downtown Vancouver. Satisfy your craving for Cajun at this new location off West Georgia and Hamilton Street, where you'll find all your favorite Louisiana-inspired menu items. We sampled the unrivaled trio of sandwiches, the classic, the deluxe, and the blackened deluxe chicken sandwich, and all were delicious. All of the signature fried chicken is marinated for 12 hours, then hand-battered and breaded, served with Cajun fries and mac and cheese on the side. Plus, for a limited time, you can try Popeye's Crispy Chicken Wrap, available now until September 3rd. Check out the new Popeyes location at 700 Hamilton Street today. Who are you bringing with you? Tag them in the comments.
This is the latest opening in BC for Popeyes, with more openings coming soon in both Alberta and BC by PLK Group.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Thinking of buying or selling real estate? Call us today. We are one-stop solution provider for your real estate needs. Our commission plans to meet your budget. Buy, sell, or build. We can help. Think of us today. Call us at 905-785-9923. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Thank you.
Welcome to SFK Law, where we're committed to providing legal guidance tailored to your needs. When it comes to real estate law, every detail matters. At SFK Law, we will assist you whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing your property. We'll guide you throughout the process with complete transparency.
Whether you're an employer or an employee, our team will provide expert guidance and representation to safeguard your rights and interests. Whether you're an existing business owner or you're looking to buy or sell a business, at SFK Law, we can help you structure the transaction from start to finish.
If you're searching for a lawyer, contact us today to schedule your consultation.
अगर आपको दुबई या मिडिल ईस्ट नुमा जेवरात की तलाश है, तो आपको दूर जाने की बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं। आज ही हमारे मिसिसागा रिचवे के स्टोर तशरीफ लाइए, अल करम ज्वेलर्स। हमारे पास सोने के बेहतरीन कंगन, कड़े, झुमके, हार और सोने के सेट्स भी दस्तयाब हैं। शादी हो या मेहंदी या कोई भी फंक्शन, आपकी पसंद के तमाम जेवरात आपको हमारे स्टोर में मौजूद मिलेंगे। आज ही हमारे स्टोर पर तशरीफ लाइए, अल करम ज्वेलर्स, 3465 प्लैटिनम ड्राइव, यूनिट 99, मिसिसागा, या फिर कॉल करें 905-828-0009। अल करम ज्वेलर्स, फरमाइश आपकी, गारंटी हमारी।
आओ चले ईद बाजार, चलो चले ईद बाजार। चूड़ियां, झुमके, जूते, पान लगाएं, मेहंदी ले सामान। लेडीज जेंट्स कपड़े, सूट, शेरवानी और सैंडल बूट, सुर्खी पाउडर और सिंगार, फ्री एंट्री इस बाजार। चीज मयारी, सस्ते दाम, वहाँ की हर शे आए काम। आओ चले, चलो चले।
Eid Bazaar, presented by Awaz Entertainment and PGA International at National Banquet Hall from April 6th to Chandrat, April 9th.
HK Movers, home, offices, apartments and delivery, big or small, we move it all.
HK Movers.
Local and long distance, we also ship cars, Keller transport and moving services.
For service with a smile, give us a call.
Call Mr. Harminder 416-524-6704.
416-524-6704 पे.
Visit 140 Advance Boulevard, Unit number 10, Brampton.
Long distance moving specialist.
HK Movers. HK Movers.
सी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और अप्लायंसेस, जहां आपकी तमाम इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और अप्लायंसेस की जरूरियात पूरी होंगी। हमारे पास आपको हर टॉप ब्रांड मौजूद मिलेगा, चाहे वो वर्लपूल हो या एलजी, सैमसंग हो या जनरल इलेक्ट्रिक्स। हम इन सब के ऑथराइज्ड डीलर हैं। आइए और हमसे 5 स्टार खिदमत का लुत्फ उठाइए। हम आपको तमाम अप्लायंसेस सबसे बेहतर और सस्ते दामों पर फराहम करेंगे, ये हमारी गारंटी है। विजिट आवर वेबसाइट www.dixieelectronics.ca या फिर हमें कॉल कीजिए 905-625-5900. At Dixie Electronics and Appliances, we sell quality and deliver confidence. Q Wireless and Computer, अपने तमाम डिवाइसेस, फोन्स, आईपैड्स, टैबलेट्स, मैकबुक्स और लैपटॉप्स के रिपेयर्स और मरम्मत के लिए हमसे आज ही राब्ता कीजिए। हम क्वालिटी एक्सपर्टीज के साथ साथ आपको फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट डायग्नोसिस भी देंगे और डेटा सिक्योरिटी की गारंटी भी। अपने मुफ्त कोड के लिए हमें आज ही कॉल करें 647-35 सिक्योरिटी की गारंटी भी। अपने मुफ्त कोड के लिए हमें आज ही कॉल करें 647-350-6606।
And welcome to Realty Coffee Talk on Awaz Entertainment. My name is Tahir. Qureshi. I'm a fellow of Roast Issue of Canada and broker record for City Pro Realty Inc. brokerage. We just recently got a call from a consumer audience about the multiple representation and the agent collecting double commission. So in our RICO guide that I have mentioned in the past, you as a consumer have the right to refuse multiple representation. That means the agent or the brokerage will not be able to have a consent. For example, multiple representation normally happens when you are a seller representative or designated representative, and you have a buyer who came to your open house or reach out to you through MLS or through social media network, and you get the consent and you're the same person. Obviously, law says that you have an option as a seller to reject that. And buyer broker, soliciting broker will appoint another person to perform the duties to the buyer. If not, there should be a clear term in the agreement to terminate the relationship or go to another brokerage. It was never been like this before. We have a standard form, we have entered standard clauses. Now Schedule A of BRA or listing agreement is very specific. You can talk about changing the person. Let's say you appointed me to perform services as a designated seller representative, and you're not happy with me. You can ask the broker record to change me to somebody else or terminate the contract, but you need to have that clause in there because we're not supposed to hold the consumer hostage. Our goal is to make their life easy, perform according to law, with honestly, professionally, with integrity, with competency, protect their interest. And we should have a provision under what basis that this contract can be terminated rather than holding them for a long period of time, which is not fair. So when we talk about the commission again, it depends on relationship, what you expect from them. And I have included in my own Schedule A very specific instructions agreed between the sellers and my brokerage and myself as a designated representative or with the buyer. What are the expectations? Where they want to buy the property? What is the size of the property? What are the locations? What type of finishes? Room sizes? Because they need to fit their furniture into the house. So they have to come up. What are the timeline when they want to get the house and have a position? and what type of the quality control they need, what kind of ceiling they need, what do they want a fully furnished house? Do they want a house with lots of upgrades? They don't have any more money after buying the property to upgrade. These are the terms and conditions that you have to put into the agreement. How many square feet, 9-foot ceiling, 10-foot ceiling? We don't talk about them, but I always did. Therefore, you are able to clearly meet the expectation of your client, not only meet, that you exceed them. And compensation is one of them. For example, you can, as a seller brokerage, I am a designated seller representative. I have an agreement. I have to disclose when there is offers coming from competing offers, if I have my own offer. But that is where multiple representation come into picture. So I am not doing it. I'm going to give it to other broker who independently handle it. Now, if this is the practice, well, because consumer assume that you buy and sell represent both, you will get the total commission. If your agreement says so, with the consent required from buyer and seller, then he or she will get that, because consent is required. The Real Estate Council of Ontario, the RECO regulator, discourages that. So that means you have independent advice, guidance, and you are being protected. And you are. Now, let's assume both parties has agreed to give consent. Then sellers say, what is for me? So buyers say, well, I'll give you discount. So he said, let's say it's 5%, I'll charge you 4%, because he is now representing buyer and the seller. And there is example I'm giving. It's not specific. You have to decide. So that discount, maybe seller will show a little bit flexibility in the price. The price has nothing to do with the commission, but this could be a motivation to accommodate a settlement between the both parties to be successful. So always talk, discuss the scope of the work, document in the Schedule A of the buyer representation or buyer designated representation agreement or seller representation agreement or designated seller representation agreement. Terms and condition has to be specified, and if you are designated a person, if he is not doing a good job, you can ask the broker record to change that person. Similarly, you have a provision in there to terminate the agreement if you're not satisfied with the service. You can also have a provision that you don't like the multiple representation because you are a seller, in most cases is a seller. Or you have two buyers represented by the same brokerage for the same transaction. That's also multiple representation. So there are certain things that you have to make sure that. And the other one important is a holdover clause. Holdover clause is for the period when the contract expires. At that period, the same person who have shown the property come back directly buys from you. You have obligation to pay commission to the brokerage. This is why it's very, very important, that you do it. That you read this. Don't sign too long period of time. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days is common. It's all what you agreed. And this is very, very important. And this RECO guidelines has very specific instruction on page 9 of the guide. When you have brokerage representation, that means the entire brokerage. You have not designated a person. The entire brokerage is under a multiple representation if buyer and seller belongs to that brokerage. or you have a designated person, one is representing seller, one is representing the buyer, you can always have that conditions in the agreement how the compensation needs to be made. And obviously, if you have not satisfied with the designation representation, whether it is a seller designated or buyer designated representative, you can always ask the broker record to change it. You have to approve it. If not, that you have the right inside the contract to terminate. This is very important. So the commission is a motivation, and this is the only income that is self-independent person will collect. We don't get paid until the work is done. So we're going to take a short break. I'm going to not to take a break, but we're going to show you the MLS update for the April. That way you are able to see what's going on in the marketplace, and we can talk about that the details. And this is why it's very, very important for you to know. There is a interesting report. So we have a sale transaction as compared to March 23-24, we were minus 4.55%, and new listing was increased 15.1%. Spring is coming, so we're expecting anticipation of interest rate potentially will go down because inflation has come down 2.8% in March. In February is going down, so this is a good thing. Hopefully, the Bank of Canada will reduce the interest rate. And active listing, we have a 23.1% under Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, and average price as compared to March 23 versus 24 has increased 1.3%. It was lower in February, and also you can see list day on the market, we have a 5.3%. So it's cutting gap is going fast, and property day on the market is gone 27 to 29, it's only 2%. So this is very important. And average price in 416 and 905 is 1.466 million for a detached home. This is year over year average price, and obviously the semi-detached average price 1.121 million between 416 and 905 together, and also townhouses 940,129 in March report, and obviously condo is 700,000 between the two. And this is an average price based on total transaction through Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Now, year over year change, detached home not zero change, semi-detached increase 3.1% average price increase. The townhome increased 0.5%, and also condo was minus 0.5. That's the overall picture. I always advise you to seek legal advice to get the legal opinion on matters that you're dealing with, or also talk to your real estate professional in your area who will give you, because your price of your street, your community, or your city will be different. So therefore, you need to have a very realistic projected market value that in order for you to list the price. And thank you for watching Realty Coffee Talk. I like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who will be celebrating Eid. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to join our Realty Coffee Talk will be on 18 April at time. Thank you for watching. May God bless you all. God bless Canada. Thank you. Bye for now.